Hello and welcome to Box Free with Stephanie. Today I want to show you how to make some basic foods with simple ingredients from scratch. And I hope you discover cooking box free is fast and delicious. So let's cook together. Today we're going to make cherry cheese braid, which is like a cream cheese Danish with cherry pie filling in it. So it's got kind of a long title and there's quite a few steps to it, but it's kind of worth it. It's really, I don't know, I really think it's a nice thing. So this is like trying to heat up, which I guess I could do that first, but I need to start with my yeast. So what I need, I've got some boiling water in here already hot. So I need 2 tablespoons of hot water, and I am very particular with my hot water because this is going to make my my yeast proof, basically. You do proof your yeast in this recipe, which, I don't know, it's what the recipe says. That's how I've always done it, so I always do it. But I want my water to be no hotter than 125, and it's 137. So 110 to 125 is the best. And in the meantime, I'm going to get my other stuff set up. I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of yeast, which I think I'll just put in here right now so I can measure that. So 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. I'm waiting for my water to cool down, basically. Oh boy, and this was all wet. Oh boy, that's not so nice. That's a big mess, but maybe that's okay. Let me just get this off. Okay, and then I'm gonna add 1/4 teaspoon of sugar, not salt, sugar, just to give the yeast something to eat, basically is what it's all about. So now I'm going to check my water again to see if it's cooled off at all, because I like it between, like I said, 110 and 125. So now we're at 127. Okay, so I need 3 tablespoons of butter in my pan here, so I can do that for a second. 1, 2, 3. We'll throw that in and get that melting. And then I'm going to add some sour cream. I need 1/4 cup. Oh, I don't even have 1/4 cup. I wonder where that is. Well, we are just going to make it work how I love to do it. Okay, but in the meantime, I need to check this because it's been a couple minutes. So, and I'm turning my bowl here to make sure my temperature probe is covered because I have so little water. So now the hottest is 120. So I'm saying that's perfect. So now I'm going to just dump in my yeast and my sugar. And then I'm just going to mix it up a little bit here. And what I'm looking for is some action. So you're supposed to let this sit about 5 minutes. But if everything else in my recipe is moving right along and it's all like poofy and I can tell it's working, then I don't always give it the full 5 minutes. So I'm going to see I got 5 minutes on the clock there. Okay, so I'm going to throw this over here. I might need it for my egg. So I'll put that in there. Okay, so in here now I did my 3 tablespoons of butter. Now I need my 1/4 cup of sour cream, which I'm just going to do half of my half here. So that'll be close enough because I think my 1/4 cup measuring thing is dirty. So we're going to say that's half of a half, which is 1/4. This is a good show for fractions, learning fractions, right? Like instead of just using my 1/4 cup, I try to do like half of a half, and 2/3 is 2 1/3, you know, like, but this is like real cooking. I don't like, you know, fake it. This is really what happens in my kitchen. Okay, and can you see this bubbling already? Like it's already like boop, boop, boop. So that's really good because that means my yeast is like on it and it's going to proof beautifully. Okay, and then this is kind of a weird recipe. You put it in your pan and then you mix all your stuff in your pan and then you have to let your dough chill for a couple hours. But I just think it's kind of funky that way. Okay, and this is enough. We aren't going to do much more with that, because once I get it all kind of soupy like this and blended pretty decently, then I do the next thing, which is to add my sugar and salt. So now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar, and this is all full of yeast. So we're just going to wing it, because the sugar is really wingable. How's that for a good English terminology? Wingable. Does that look like a tablespoon? Sure. And like that. We'll go a little heavy on this one, because this is just going to sweeten up your dough. So like if you added way too much, it's, you know, I don't think you would add too much. It's not really going to happen. Okay, and then I'm like so paranoid of doing this recipe wrong. One time I read it wrong and I was doing my yeast thing and I was like, oh yeah, it says 1/4 cup of sugar. And so I measured it out and I was like, man, that looks like a lot of sugar for this recipe. Like that is for like 2 tablespoons of water. And so I dumped it in thinking like, well, that's what it says. And then I could tell right away that was super wrong. So I looked back on my recipe and it said 1/4 teaspoon, not 1/4 cup of sugar. So ever since then, I've been a little bit paranoid because there are like so many little measurements and so many little steps for this recipe. So I get paranoid. So anyway, I just dumped out my yeast and put it back in. Started fresh. Okay, so I melted my butter and my sour cream. I added my 2 tablespoons of sugar and my 1/4 teaspoon salt. Now I'm supposed to let it cool for a minute, and then I have to add my egg and my yeast. Okay, so my egg, I'm going to beat that real quick like. And I've got a teeny tiny eggshell in there. What was I going to say? I need to get a fork. I'm going to beat this just because I want this to cool a little bit, because if I don't let this cool enough, I'll basically have scrambled eggs, which, I think a couple times I've made it, I see teeny tiny white dots in it, which I think are maybe some egg whites that have been cooked in my hot melted butter. But I try not to do that, of course. And look at this stuff is like poofy. Like my yeast is working. So that is good news for me. Okay, so I think it's probably cooled enough. I don't know. Probably is. We're going to just go for it. Because then I'm going to add, it seems like I've never made this before, right? Like what do I have? I have to just read it so much. I'm going to add my flour and then that's it. Okay, so yes. We're going to just measure my flour to give it just another 10 seconds to cool. So just 1 cup of flour. That's a little bit heavy. Okay, like that. Didn't even make a difference. I'm not sure. Okay, so now we are just going to hope that we don't have scrambled eggs. So, going to stir while I put in here. And then my water is a little bit hot too, but we'll mix this in. Okay. This is kind of a wild recipe. I don't really remember where I got it from, but it doesn't make like a huge amount of dough. And so your braid, your Danish braid is not very huge, but I don't know. I just like it. Okay, and I don't see any egg whites. So yay, that seemed to work out. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to add my flour, and then that's it. Then we'll let this chill for 2 hours, then we'll come back and we'll braid it. But I actually made another batch earlier, so I have my dough already chilled. So that's pretty cool. I don't ever do that. And this is like a get in there and really work it. Because, you're in this pan, so it's like hard to get into the corners and stuff. But you just do. And then it all blends up. It's kind of like, looks like cream puff dough, in my opinion. But that is what you want. Okay, so I'm going to throw this in my fridge with a little cover on it in a minute. And then like in 2 hours, I'll make another one, I think. Or maybe I'll freeze it. I don't really know. Okay, but I'm going to set this aside just right here for now. Okay, so I'm going to get out my other dough and then we'll be right back. Okay, Okay, this is my dough that I made earlier this morning. And obviously you can't tell, but it's like poofed up just a little bit because I have yeast in it. So I'm just gonna let that sit here for a second while I make my cream cheese filling. So I'm not gonna use my cherry pie filling quite yet, but I am going to make this. Okay, so this is 4 ounces or half a bar of cream cheese. And then I need 2 tablespoons of sugar, which again, we're just gonna wing it because it's not like it really matters that much for the sugar quantities. And then I need a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, which is like hardly any, like that. Then we're gonna see if this will do it, or if I have to get a fork. Oh boy, maybe I'm gonna try my fork. I can't always remember how I do stuff, and that's okay. I'm supposed to act like I know what I'm doing though, but it's all right. Yeah, this is way better. Okay, so I'm just basically trying to make my cream cheese have some sweetness to it. That's all this is doing, because my cherry pie filling has the real sweetness to it. And I think when I first found this recipe, it didn't even have cherry pie filling in it. And I was like, well, let's just make it pretty and add some red to it. So I've never made it with like my homemade blueberry sauce, which would probably be delicious. So I'm going to do that. Someday I'm going to do it. But I don't use cherry pie filling very often. Like I never make a pie with it, but I do things like this with it. So it is kind of fun to have some of it. And let's just taste it. Now I'm going to open up my cherry pie filling, and you don't use the whole can, you only use about half of it, which ends up being about 1 cup. So I am going to actually put this right into my 1 cup container, just because I know I'm not going to use my whole jar, and I just want to see, mostly I want to see how many cherries are in it. Wow, this is like a new brand I bought, and it is full of cherries. Holy cow, you guys, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so this is what's left, and there's like just as many cherries in it. Wow, way to go, Mrs. Edens. Okie dokie. I'm loving that. Because sometimes when I buy cherry pie filling, it seems like there's a lot of the filler, you know, the gelatin stuff. And I'm going to try one of these. I must be hungry today or something. Okay, so this I'm going to save for another day. And then this and this I'm going to put on my braid once I have it all ready. Okay, so I have my oven preheated to 350. So now I'm going to roll this out and make a braid. Hang on, I got to spray this. I always spray it over my stove for some reason, or my sink. Okay. So now this will be like magic if it actually works out on the show. I mean, I do make this often, but never when I like have to have it turn out perfectly. So I just roll my dough out. Okay, so pull it out of there, and then you can see like all the little air pockets from the dough. Okay. Now I'm going to try to make a rectangle out of it. And I usually kind of get my stuff stuck like that. So then I just peel it off, and then I flip it over, and now this has a little bit of non-stick on it, which works great. Which sometimes works great. I don't know, I don't usually have too many problems with that, but we're just gonna go with it, and maybe I will make life easy and spray my little, I don't want it to be like super coated, but I don't want it to stick terribly. And if you notice, my pan's ridges are like just the same size or the same depth. Wow, my dogs are sneezing like crazy here. The same depth as my pan, which is pretty handy. So, all right, and I don't have any magic dimensions. I just try to do like a, I don't know, 10 by 12, 10 by 14 maybe. Because what I'm trying to do is get this spread out into a rectangle so that I can braid it and it's relatively even. But I don't want it to be like paper thin. but it also doesn't have to be crazy thick. I think that's it. That's my magic rectangle right there. Okay, so now I'm going to gently spread my filling. We'll see how gently it goes. No, it actually does work out. I've never had this recipe fail. I mean, not that like a lot of recipes fail, but you know, you never know. Things go crazy. Things definitely go wrong before, but not like a total failure. Okay, so now let's see if I can gently spread. You just don't want it like in a blob. You can't leave it like that. And you do really braid pretty much right down to the end, but this will be my end and this will be my top. So I want more really at my top, and I don't need quite the same amount at my bottom because that's where my braid's gonna end, and I feel like I always have quite a bit of batter or dough left there. Okay, so like that's certainly not perfect, right? And that's totally fine. Good enough, and it'll be just dandy. Okay, so now, what's this? Cream cheese. That's how you take care of that. Okay, then you take your half a jar of pie filling, which like I'm usually not a promoter of a company, but wow, this is like a ton of cherries in this pie thing. And I only bought this because it had like sugar in it, not the high fructose corn syrup. So yeah, look at all those cherries, and the other container is like just as full. Okay, I'm getting excited. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Okay, so now that you have it spread out on the middle third of your dough, then I think I'm supposed to take my little paring knife and I'm going to cut little, I can't remember, I guess I cut from the outside. I'm just cutting pieces so that I can make a braid. And I guess I always keep them about an inch wide. I don't really know. Oh, that's a really wide one. Woo-wee. I don't know if you would want to do much thinner because you'll see how it looks, and it looks really pretty like this. But whatever, it's your braid. You can do whatever you want with it. And I guess I'm going to cut these. I don't really know how that'll work. Okay, so now the fun part of braiding. I love braiding. Okay, so you just take one side and you pull it over, then you take the other and you make a little crisscross, then you do the next one. And I always try to leave a little opening up here so that my cherry will pop through and you'll see my color. And I try to always make sure they actually touch each other. You know, that's why you use a third of your dough. So I see I'm pulling it down a little bit so that you actually see the red. But I just think it's so cute. And see that one like barely touched. This one's gonna just kind of touch there. And then that one looks funny, and we'll just hide that with the next braid like that. Oopsie, and then this one, and then these two are my little like mermaid tail, and I'm just going to braid that and that. And sometimes I kind of pull it up and make a little ending like that. So this one, I don't usually do that with, but I will today. Why not? So I got a little, so look at how cute that is. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I have enough opening, and I like how it looks, and I do. Okay, I can't wait. So some people do an egg wash. I think the original recipe said an egg wash, and you know me, I'm not a big egg wash fan, so I'm just going to leave it. But I can see right now that I don't like how my my dough edges are sticking out, so I'm going to actually pull this over because it won't look like, see, like that and that. That's not what a braid looks like. Braids are supposed to be all hidden. Okay, that's so much better. I don't know if I've done that before, but I don't think I have. I mean, you know, like they always hide each other, basically, is what I'm going for. Okay, I can't wait to show you what it looks like when it comes out. So we're going to throw this puppy in and bake it for, let's see, I think it was 20 minutes. 25. I'm going to set my timer for 25. It says 25 to 30 at 350, so I'll be back in 25 minutes. Okay, my cherry cheese braid has been in the oven for 25 minutes, and I'm going to pull it out, and you guys are going to think it's gorgeous, I hope. I think it's so pretty. Look at that. Oh, I love this recipe. Okay, so isn't that absolutely gorgeous? So you can see, right, let's critique it now. You can see right here, this pulled apart, so that wasn't the perfect braid. I'm really glad I tucked all my edges in because they still pulled apart. And then my little tuck here worked pretty good. And my little top here, where I pulled that little bitty part up, I think really helped, because otherwise it would have maybe come out onto my pan. But this is just gorgeous. So you can do like the powdered sugar drizzle thing on it, but again, I don't do that because it's just more sugar and whatever, and I just love the red and white look of this. So I think it's perfect for holidays and Valentine's Day and fun stuff like that. So I'm going to cut into it and take a piece. So this is a little bit hard to make right away in the morning, but you can actually make your dough the night before and then wake up, roll it out, bake it. So you need about 40 minutes or so, which isn't so bad, you know. So you can actually make this in the morning if you make the dough the night before. And I don't think I've ever made the dough like right away and then rolled it out immediately. I always chill it. So you could try it if you wanted to. I was going to see if you can see on the inside here, there's our cream cheese underneath there. So if you didn't do the cherry pie filling or any other fruit filling, it would just be white and tan inside, which would be just fine. So anyway, that is our cherry cheese Danish. And now there's my little serving with all the layers. I'm gonna take a little piece. Here come my dogs ready for their little piece. No way, misters. Okay. See, hopefully it's not too hot. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Mm. 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 Yum. Mm. Okay, so things taste very different. They're like crazy hot like that, but you definitely want to serve this warmish in my opinion. But we have had it like the next day. I don't think I reheat it. I keep it in the fridge, and it's just really good that way too. But I was going to say, this is not an overly sweet breakfast or dessert. I mean, I guess you could make it for dessert. I always do it for breakfast, but you wouldn't have to. But I like how it's not, I have like a thread on here. Oops, I just pushed it in my cherry stuff. It's not like a crazy sweet dessert, you know, or breakfast food. So you may make it and think it's not sweet enough, but I like how you can make a pastry for the morning and it doesn't feel like a piece of cake. So to me, this is way sweet enough, especially with the cherry pie filling. If you just did the cream cheese mixture, it would be even less sweet, which would be really nice for breakfast. So, it's so good. Okay, there is your cherry cheese Danish. No, your cherry cheese braid. Thank you very much for watching Box Free with Stephanie. I hope you like the show. I really hope you make a braid and it looks gorgeous and your family thinks it tastes delicious. And I will see you on the next show. I appreciate your time. I'll see you later. Bye.